Hi, this is Jay Hegde, and this is my second video. Um, this one is about happiness. I'm calling this one "Where in the Universe Can I Find Happiness?" Um, Basically, um, everybody spends their lives chasing what they think is happiness, what they think will get them happiness. Everybody has a different concept. Some think it's in money, some think it's in fame, some think it's in family and friends, and everybody has a different concept, but nobody really knows where this happiness is, this elusive thing called happiness. Nobody can actually pinpoint where happiness is located. Everybody has a vague notion of what happiness is. Somebody says live cleanly and live well and you'll be happy, and somebody else says, go out there and get what you want and you'll be happy. And so anyway, basically nobody knows where happiness is. And the object of this video is to pinpoint where exactly happiness lies, to pinpoint the locus of happiness, and to make it such that one cannot but know where happiness lies, so that there's no longer any confusion. And this doesn't mean that one would give up one's pursuits. In fact, once you know where happiness is, it would make you a more objective person, because you would then not waste your efforts pursuing something for the wrong reasons. So anyway, let's begin. So where is happiness? Now let's take this whole universe. Let's break it up. Let's organize it into space, time, and objects. And when I say space, time, and objects, there's space, time, objects, and beings, living beings. Okay, people, animals, whatever. And of course, there's events within space, time. So let's make these broad what's the word? You know what I mean, basically. So these broad, basically. I'm sorry, I just woke up, so bear with me. So anyway, let's start with space. Let's assume that happiness lies in space. Okay, so if happiness lies in space, that means either we're taking the whole of space or we're taking some particular location, some place in space. So let's say I think that happiness lies in place X, okay, in Yosemite National Park. It's a place that makes me very happy every time I go there. Now, if happiness were to be the true nature of that place, Yosemite, then that place should be able to make me happy at all times. Okay. Basically, what we're positing is that if something is the true nature of an object or a person or whatever, then that nature should be permanent. For example, if I say the nature of fire is to be hot, that is true, because heat is fire's nature, which means that fire is always hot. Whether I start a fire in the morning or in the night, in winter, in summer, I can be sure that fire will always be hot. And that's because heat, the attribute heat, is the nature of fire, and therefore it will always be hot. So we can extend this logic to happiness. So if there is such a thing as happiness in some place or person or whatever, then that attribute happiness must be permanent. Therefore, if I go to the place Yosemite and it makes me happy, it should make me happy all the time, whether I go there in summer or winter or in the middle of the night or in the morning or 10 years from now. It should always be able to make me happy. But human experience is the opposite. We all know that maybe something makes me happy one time. Next time I go there, I have a different experience. I'm not happy. There's something on my mind, something happened at work, something happened at home, whatever. Or I just got used to that place. My mind got used to it. The first time I went there, I had an awesome time. The second time I go there, I have a good time, but it's not as awesome because the mind has gotten used to it. So now I'm not that happy. And then I go there again the third time, and the third time it's even less. Finally, I go there the nth time, and I no longer feel happy at Yosemite National Park. Okay? So that means if happiness is an attribute of this place, it should make me happy all the time. And since it cannot, I can safely eliminate Yosemite National Park as the locus of happiness. Similarly, I can extend this logic to all places. If it applies to one place, logically it has to apply to any other place. And further, I can extend it to space. So I can say that happiness does not lie in space. The moment I say space, time goes with it. So in the universe, space and time go together. So automatically, happiness does not lie in time either. Well, let's examine that. Let's say, the morning is my best time of the day, as it is for many of us. So we feel our best in the mornings. We feel happy. We feel fresh. We're at peace. So let's say I say that the morning is when I'm happiest. It makes me happy. Now, if that's the case, then if happiness is the nature of the morning, the time period of that time period, then it should be able to make me happy every day after day, year after year, decade after decade. But is that the case? No. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm very happy. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I have a lot in my mind, okay, from the previous day. Or I didn't sleep well, the previous night, and so I'm not happy. In fact, I'm irritable, or I wake up, that morning and there's something at work that I have to go and attend to immediately. And so I'm all rushed, I'm not relaxed, and so that morning is lost on me. So basically, in all these different ways, we can see, and everyone can relate to this, right? This is our common experience. So I can safely say that the morning cannot be the source of happiness for me, because if it did, it would make me happy all the time, but it doesn't. In fact, there are times when it makes me unhappy, just like with the place, okay? So, same logic, once again, I can eliminate time as a source of happiness. Okay, so we got rid of space, we got rid of time. Let's go to objects, okay? And with objects, we'll put in people too. So first, let's start with objects. So let's say an object is the source of my happiness. Let's say my car, my Ferrari, my red Ferrari is the source of my happiness. It makes me very happy. The first time I buy it, I'm exuberant, I'm out of my mind. I'm just so happy. I take it for a spin, I come back, I'm still happy. And this state of happiness goes on for days. Let's say days pass, months pass. Of course, as with all things, the mind gets used to everything, right? So whatever made me extremely happy the first time, second time, third time reduces over time because the mind gets used to it. So 1 year from now, I probably won't be that happy with this Ferrari. 2 years from now, I probably won't have any feeling one way or the other towards the Ferrari. It's just there. It's a possession. I've had my kicks. I've gotten everything out of it that I wanted, and now it's just another car. Okay, it doesn't make a difference to me one way or the other. It either makes me happy or it makes me unhappy. 10 years from now, I want to get rid of it. Actively want to get rid of it. Why? Because I found another car, a Lamborghini, that I want very much, and now I don't care about this Ferrari. In fact, I want it out of my garage because I need the money to buy the Lamborghini. So now this Ferrari that used to make me happy before now is making me unhappy. Okay, I want to get rid of it. I want someone to buy it, take it off my hands so I can go get a Lamborghini. So again, we see that happiness, it does not exist in this Ferrari. If it did, that Ferrari would make me happy all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year, year after year. So therefore, since happiness does not lie in the Ferrari, I can extend that to every object in the universe and dismiss all objects and say that happiness does not lie in any object. Now I can extend that to people. let's say my wife makes me very happy. Okay, yes, wonderful. She's my soulmate. I fell in love with her, and I love her to death, and she makes me happy. Now it's the same thing. If I think that happiness lies in my wife, then she should be able to make me happy every day. Okay, for the rest of my life. But as we all know, those of us in relationships, that's not the case, right? So in the beginning, it's wonderful. In a new relationship, you're in love, you're in lust, you're in everything. You just cannot get enough of the other person. But as time goes on, you get used to each other, and over time that fades. Now, if you have a friendship, a solid friendship as your baseline, then that relationship abides. It continues. In the case where you don't have that friendship as a starting point, once the attraction fades, the relationship can go south, right? Anyway, the point is that person that made me so happy in the beginning no longer does so. And just like with the Ferrari, just like with the park, just like with anything in this universe, over time I get used to that person, right? And finally I get to a point where the person neither makes me happy nor unhappy. I become indifferent to them. And over time, they may be, I may not leave that person, I may still love them, but there may be times when we fight or when I want to get away from that person. I want my own space or whatever. We have a misunderstanding. And in those moments, I don't like that person. I may even hate them for that time being. And so, again, once again, happiness doesn't lie in that person. Because if it did, they would make me happy all the time. So, again, I can extend this to all living beings and say that happiness does not lie in any living being. So, we've eliminated space, we've eliminated time, okay, we've eliminated all objects, and we've eliminated people and living beings. Okay, so from people I can also extend that to animals, right? It'll be the same logic. So we eliminated space, time, objects, and all living beings. And there's one more thing left: events. Okay, so let's say there's an event, some event in space and time. I don't know. Every morning, say there's some gathering of friends. Every morning we meet for coffee, and we reminisce over the old days. And it's half an hour every morning, but that's the happiest moment of my life. I love being with my friends every morning. So that's an event. And if I say that that event makes me happy, then happiness should be the nature, the attribute of that event, which means it should be able to make me happy all the time, every day. But that's not true. Once again, with the same logic, sometimes I'm happy in that group at that particular time of the morning, in that place, in that cafeteria, in so and so city, in so and so neighborhood. And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes my mind might be occupied and I'm not able to enjoy the company of my friends. Or sometimes, I'm in a hurry, so I'm not able to be relaxed, and so I don't enjoy that time with them. Whatever the case may be, I'm not happy in that event every day, day in and day out. It's not possible. So again, happiness does not lie in any event, and I can extend that to any event and basically come to the same conclusion that no event contains happiness as its true nature. So we basically eliminated everything: space, time, objects, people, and events, right? That's it. That's the whole universe. So if happiness does not lie in any of these things, there's only one other possibility. Happiness has to lie within me, right? Because the only thing that's left is myself. Okay, so if happiness lies in me, if it is my true nature, I should be happy all the time, right? 24/7, 365 days a year. But that is not the case. In fact, more often than not, I am unhappy, and a few times I am happy, right? Happiness seems to be fleeting, ephemeral, something that I'm not able to grasp. It comes and goes. It's never consistent. Sometimes I'm happy for no reason. I hear a joke, I laugh, I'm happy. Or I achieve some goal. I buy a car, or I get a raise at work or something. or I have a wonderful time with my wife or my girlfriend, and I'm happy. But it goes away, you know. I'm not able to grasp it. I'm not able to hold on to it. So happiness comes and goes. It's not that. Does that mean to say that happiness is not my nature? Further, I seem to be unhappy more than happy, right? That's generally the human lot. So we can broadly say that we can broadly categorize or um, lump all our human experiences into two broad categories: happiness and unhappiness. Okay, so all the negative feelings, experiences we put under unhappiness, and all the positive ones under happiness. Okay, so either one of these two has to be my true nature. Either happiness is my true nature or unhappiness is my true nature, right? So which is it? Now, here's a clue. Just as we were what's the word? As we were exploring earlier, if happiness is the true nature of any object, then it has to be its attribute, and it has to be a permanent attribute of that object, which means it should always be there. Just like in fire, if I take fire, heat is an attribute of fire. So I can be very sure that the fire will always be hot. Why? Because heat is its nature. So if anything is something's nature, it should be constant. It should be permanent. That's the nature of things. Okay? That's science. That's physics. So extending that logic to happiness, if happiness is the nature of myself, or unhappiness is the nature of myself, then it should be permanent, right? But neither one of these two is permanent, happiness and unhappiness. They come and go in me. Now, furthermore, if something is one's nature, it would be natural to oneself. In other words, one would be comfortable with that attribute. One would be comfortable being that way. For example, let's imagine that fire was a conscious being. Now, if you were to ask fire, are you happy being hot? What do you think the fire would say? The fire would say yes. Why? Because heat is my nature. I'm always hot, right? Now, if the fire were to become cold, okay, not that it's possible, but let's say, and if you ask the fire, do you like cold? Do you like being cold? The fire obviously would say, no, I don't like cold because it's not my nature. I'm not comfortable being cold, but I am comfortable being hot because it's my nature. So the clue is, anything that's my nature, I'm comfortable with. I'm happy being that, right? So that should help us distinguish between happiness and unhappiness here. So if unhappiness is my true nature, then I should be comfortable being unhappy. I should be happy being unhappy, right? It should be natural to me. But is that the case? No, it's not. I don't like being unhappy. Nobody likes being unhappy, right? You try to get rid of it. And conversely, do I like being happy? Yes. Obviously. I love being happy, right? In fact, I try to make it so that it's permanent. My whole life is a pursuit of happiness. I'm constantly trying to capture this elusive thing called happiness and make it permanent. So that means happiness is natural to me. I'm comfortable being happy. I like being happy, which means it's natural to me, which means happiness has to be my true nature. So we can eliminate unhappiness. So now we're very clear. Happiness is my true nature because I'm comfortable being happy, because it is natural to me. Whereas unhappiness is not a natural experience to me. I don't like it. I try to get rid of it. So, alright, if happiness is my true nature, then why is it that I'm not happy all the time? What's the problem here? So if something is my true nature, it has to always be there, right? Like, let's go back to the fire. Suppose the fire didn't know that heat was its true nature, okay? Let's say the fire is ignorant of its true nature. Does that make the heat go away? No. Even if the fire doesn't know that it's hot, it is hot all the time, right? Because heat is its nature. It's not an experience that comes and goes. It's not some temporary, event or some experience. It is its own nature. It's its own attribute. So whether fire knows that it's hot or not, it's always hot. So in other words, the problem is ignorance, self-ignorance. So similarly, happiness is my true nature because it is natural to me. Okay, but because I'm ignorant of my true nature, I don't know all the time. In fact, I don't know at all that happiness is my nature. Nobody knows. Most people don't know, right? So that's the problem. The problem is self-ignorance. If I knew that happiness is my true nature, over time, all my doubts and everything would fall away, and it would be crystal clear to me that happiness is my true nature. It may not happen immediately, because I've been living this entire life with the belief, with the notion that happiness lies external to me, that I have to seek happiness in the world. But here comes someone and tells me that happiness is not in the external world, but it's your own nature. Now, that's not going to immediately happen. It's not going to sink in immediately. It takes time. But the first step has been made, right? I cannot now say that I don't know where happiness lies. I know it's my own nature. I may not be able to access it all the time, but I know now that it's my nature. So I can relax. I can stop seeking it out in the external world, right? And I can try to make this understanding of happiness being my true nature permanent, clearer. I can try to make it clearer by seeking knowledge, right? So the way to make this happiness permanent, not that it isn't, it already is permanent, but the way to make it permanent in my cognition, cognitively to recognize that I'm happiness all the time, the solution for that is knowledge. Because the problem is ignorance, self-ignorance. I don't know that happiness is my nature, and therefore the solution always has to be knowledge. If ignorance is the problem, knowledge is the solution. So that's it. Now you know that happiness is your true nature. It's not an experience. It's not out there in the world. It is you, right? We proved it logically. Now all you have to do is seek knowledge, is try to understand how happiness is my nature and make it crystal clear. And that we will do over time. Okay? So I just wanted to introduce this concept of happiness, and then over time I will explain it and I will make it clearer in different ways, from different angles, so that you cannot but see the truth. Now, I'm not sure if all of you have seen, some of you may have watched my first video, the one about consciousness. Initially, I think I called it "You Are God and So Am I," and then I changed it a few times, and I think the final title of that video is "You Are Not Supernatural" or something like that. Consciousness is not supernatural because it's your true nature. Anyway, check it out. That approaches this problem of my true nature in a different way. This video that I'm just finishing now attacks my true nature from the angle of happiness. The previous video was an inquiry into the nature of the self and the universe and the creator, and the connection or the relationship between all three. Okay. And this is different. This is on a purely emotional, experiential level that I've been attacking this problem of self-knowledge. Okay, so now I'm done here. I'll stop talking and let you think about this and let it sink in. And I will continue. I will make another video, and so on and so on. And I hope you guys like this. Once again, I didn't prepare. I just woke up a little while ago, so I apologize for the stuttering and the struggling to find words and so on and so forth. Anyway, thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a good weekend. Take care.